the far north of Scotland. So an unsettled start to the new working week, and that theme continues through much of next week. However, there are some hints that we'll see high pressure building and turning a little bit chillier by next weekend.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
This is the Good Luck.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 9 o'clock. I'm Ben Leo. Tonight,
Golden age of America begins right now. America's decline is over.
where there's a will, there's a way. It's time to get the memo from America and make Britain great again. That means enough of this misery guts rhetoric.
There is a budget coming in October, and it's going to be painful. And frankly, things will get worse before they get better.
And breaking tonight, the government orders a review of the Prevent Counter-Terrorism scheme after Southport monster Axel Rudabacano's obsession with school massacres was shrugged off as simply having an interest in news and world affairs. And I've been out and about getting a flavour of the nation.
Syria.
Syria?
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted a quick friendly chat. No one's around. Must have been something I said. Plus, Coldplay perform in India and apologise for the British Empire.
It's amazing to us that you welcome us, even though we are from Great Britain.
Joining me this evening is journalist and communications advisor Linda Jubilee, former Labour advisor Paul Richards, and the commentator and broadcaster Paul de London. Very good evening to you. Hope you're well. A big 2 hours coming up, including a deep dive into tomorrow's newspapers and all the breaking stories for the entire 10 o'clock hour. First, though, your news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Hi there, it's 9:00. I'm Aaron Armstrong with your latest headlines. Thousands of displaced Palestinians have been prevented from returning home to the northern part of Gaza after Israel accused Hamas of breaching the terms of the ceasefire deal. Now, it comes after 4 female Israeli soldiers were released by Hamas earlier and reunited with their families. Naama Levy, Karina Ariev, Daniela Gilboa and Liri Albag saw their loved ones again after being held captive for 15 months. It is the second release of hostages to take place since a ceasefire deal was agreed last Sunday, although 90 hostages are still being held in Gaza. Now, in return, Israel released around 200 Palestinian prisoners, prompting scenes of jubilation in Ramallah in the West Bank. However, the Israeli government have blocked the route to northern Gaza. They want the release of the civilian Arbel Yehud. According to the deal, Hamas is supposed to release civilians before soldiers. So that is an ongoing dispute. However, serious Palestinian offenders, those convicted of the gravest crimes, were not in Ramallah in the West Bank. Some of them were on board this bus, understood to be on its way to Cairo in Egypt, where Palestinians will then travel to neighbouring countries, including Qatar and Turkey. A 14-year-old has been charged with the murder of Birmingham schoolboy Leo Ross, who was stabbed in a country park on Tuesday. The youth, who can't be named because of his age, was arrested around 4 hours after 12-year-old Leo suffered fatal injuries in the Hall Green area. He has also been charged, the youth, with 7 other offences, including possession of a bladed weapon. Leo's family have released a statement describing him as an amazing, kind boy who was loved so much by everyone. 3 teenagers have died and a 4th man has suffered life-threatening injuries after a car hit a tree near Wakefield in West Yorkshire. They were travelling near the village of West Breton when it left the road and crashed on Friday night. The 18-year-old driver and 2 19-year-old passengers died. 2 other men were taken to hospital, one of whom is in a critical condition. Farmers across the UK have been staging a National Day of Unity. They're trying to protect the sector. Pressure is mounting on the government to halt the controversial inheritance taxes that could see some farmers forced to sell their land. The National Farmers Union and Tory MPs have warned that many farmers are at breaking point and can't afford the bills.
Farmers are on their knees. They can't pass their farms to their children. They're already struggling to make ends meet. We have more suicides for farmers and for individual workers than pretty much any profession. They struggle with poverty. They struggle with years of all of the impact of the climate change sort of measures that have been put in place. They are just struggling to make ends meet. And now this new Labour government has come in to destroy their way of life, to destroy the British countryside. Who is going to protect our beautiful countryside and our way of life without the farmer?
And 2 new weather warnings for snow and ice have come into effect for Northern Ireland and large parts of Scotland as the clear-up after Storm Éowyn continues. Extra engineers have been drafted in to help restore electricity across Ireland, with hundreds of thousands of people on both sides of the border without power still earlier this evening. Meanwhile, travel services remain severely disrupted in Scotland. Trains and ferries are suspended. Roads remain closed. ScotRail has advised disruption on the trains will continue into Sunday. And more than 40,000 customers there are still without power. Some will have to wait several days to be reconnected. Well, those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with more in just under an hour's time.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
All right, good evening to you. It's time to make Britain great again. Enough talking and intellectual head-scratching. We know it can be done. Just look at what's going on in America. President Trump has got more done in 5 days than Labour has in 6 months.
Order immediately halted all entry of illegal border crossers, of which there were many, and began promptly returning the illegal trespassers back to the place from which they came.
Look at that. A sight to behold. Around 2,000 illegal migrant criminals have already been booted out of America on military planes, and there's plenty more coming too. Meanwhile, President Trump has totally torn up the net zero scam.
I terminated the ridiculous and incredibly wasteful Green New Deal. I call it the Green New Scam. Withdrew from the one-sided Paris Climate Accord.
Petrol and diesel cars back on the menu in America. Trump's also getting rid of wind turbines and solar farms.
The wind blows and then it doesn't blow and the things cost a fortune. They're made in China and they kill the birds and they're horrible. We don't want windmills in this country. We're putting an order out. I've already sort of done it. We don't want windmills.
Meanwhile, this week over here, Ed Miliband is trashing the countryside by allowing Ecotricity to build a major solar farm in Lincolnshire. Ecotricity, by the way, owned by millionaire Labour donor and eco-zealot Dale Vince. Interesting, that one. Back in America, though, Trump's also told tens of thousands of work-from-home government employees to get back in the office or find a new job.
Sir, the next item, as you announced in your speech, is a requirement that federal workers return to full-time in-person work immediately.
Could you imagine that here? Because right now, swathes of our own woke-riddled civil service are threatening to strike because they've been asked to work in the office for just 2 days a week. Trump just deals with it. No pussyfooting around. Get to work or get lost. The Chancellor today said Britain needs a dose of Trump's positivity and said it was time we learned something from the US President. No, really? Goodness me, who'd have thought? Putting Britain first. What a great idea from Rachel Reeves. Very original. This was Donald Trump's bullish first speech as president.
During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
And now let me remind you of Sir Keir Starmer's first ever speech as Prime Minister from the Rose Garden in Downing Street.
But I have to be honest with you. Things are worse than we ever imagined. Things will get worse before they get better. I'll have to turn to the country and make big asks of you as well, to accept short-term pain for long-term good.
What a stark contrast. Donald Trump already has migrants on planes. Sir Keir Starmer's still blathering on about smashing gangs, yet the boats keep coming, of course. And though Labour have pledged to work with foreign countries to increase security and tackle the gangs and so on, blah, 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 a number of claimants have been rejected. So Rachel Reeves can talk all she wants about copying Trump and needing positivity. The real results come from when you actually stop the yapping and just get on with it. Want the boats to stop? Call a national emergency and turn them back. Get the Navy in the Channel. Want to spark economic growth like never before? Run riots in the North Sea and stop net zero once and for all. Frack, drill, unleash the shale gas liquid gold beneath our feet. Want to free up prison spaces? Send the 10,000 foreign criminals languishing in our jails home immediately. And that includes Pakistani rape gangs who should be stripped of their citizenship. I don't care what the ECHR says. Leave the ECHR and get them out. President Trump has signed hundreds of executive orders this week to make America great again. But what he's achieved most in just 5 days is providing absolute proof that the problems plaguing the Western world, Britain included, are political choices made by our leaders, not some inevitable outcome that we must all suffer in lockstep. We're locked in a battle for the future of this country, its very soul and fabric of being. So let's amp up the positivity, use America as a blueprint for change, and make Britain great again. Let's get the thoughts of my panel now. Joining me this evening is the journalist and communications advisor, Linda Jubilee, former Labour Special Advisor, Paul Richards, and political commentator, Paula London. Welcome along, you three. Thank you for joining me. Paul, let's start with you. Do I need to plonk a MAGA hat on your head and tell your Labour cronies to get some oomph up their backsides?
I think the big thing that Trump is showing is there's a big difference between the performative, theatrical stating of things and actually doing stuff. And the hard yards of reform are much harder than making big speeches, as I think America will discover. And I think the other issue is that, you guys are putting a lot of faith in this bloke. He hasn't got a great track record. He's already been in government once, and the first thing he's going to do is slap tariffs on the UK.
Well, good for America.
Unless we're careful.
Good for America.
Which will cost British jobs and businesses.
Paul,
that's not very patriotic, is it?
Look what he's done this week. Well, look what he's done this week. He's scrapped net zero. He's made it very clear the trans agenda is off the agenda. There's only two genders. He's pardoned people he said he'd pardon. He's put through executive orders he said he'd put through. He's sticking to his word and he's getting things done. Most importantly, he's deported already 2,000 illegal criminals. It's not even been a week.
But Labour is also sending back people who shouldn't be here. And by the way, if we did that thing with prisoners that you mentioned, of course, all the Brits in foreign prisoners would all be coming back here. They wouldn't release prison places. It would be a disaster. Putting the Navy in the Channel? Well, the Navy will tell you that they can't police the Channel. You can't stop the boats once they're on the waters. You have to stop them before they get anywhere near the waters.
Why can't they? Sorry, why can't they?
Well, because the Channel is quite a big place, that's why. And
it's the
they
Royal
will
Navy.
always get through. I love the Royal Navy as much as anyone, but they can't be put in that role to stop boats.
Linda, what's your thoughts? Donald Trump is making it look easy.
I think, well, there's making it look easy and there's making it easy, which are two different things, and Paul has given a nod to that. But the one thing he has done is he gets things done. Now, it doesn't matter really at the moment exactly what they are, but what we are suffering from in this country is not getting things done. That's the comparison. If you look at the faith we've lost in some of our institutions, particularly lately, and there have been inquiries, there have been policies in place, but we haven't followed them. We simply haven't got things over the line, and we've reaped the disastrous consequences of that this week with the Southport Crown Court case, where we saw terrible, heinous crimes simply because we didn't get stuff done.
Yeah,
literally nothing was happening.
But look, I don't want to, Paula London, I don't want to sit here and put the country down, because this is a great country. I know lots of people are going to the Middle East and Dubai. I just got back from Dubai. It's a nice place. The sun shines. That's great. Good for a tan. But let me tell you, it's completely soulless. It's got nothing on Britain. So I think there's lots of potential in this country. We need to unlock not just the shale gas underneath our feet, but the entire potential of the country. And we can look to America for inspiration.
It's very hard to see the potential when we have Keir Starmer as the leader. And Donald Trump, not only is he a great orator, he's a doer. He doesn't just talk. And also, obviously, he has experience. He was the president before, and during his time, there was no wars. There were wars when other presidents were in the seat, as it were. And I think it's great that people are worried about the tariffs rising, because hopefully that will knock some sense into Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer. At the end of the day, we need America. America doesn't need us. So I'm glad that Keir will have to do, not as he's told, but will have to act rationally for once, because he's not acting rationally. He's acting in an erratic way, similar to a sociopath, in my mind.
We're going to have to do a deal with America, aren't we? We are going to have to get a trade deal in place, and we also have to get a trade deal in place with Europe and Australia and New Zealand. You know, we're going to have to trade with the world. But if he's slapping tariffs on us, that is going to make it harder, not easier, for us to do that.
Well, that's Rachel's fault.
You know, where's the free trade?
I interviewed Donald Trump's son, Eric, a few months ago. He said, my father loves Britain. His mother is Scottish. He's got a very close relationship with Britain.
Sure.
And he said, there won't be tariffs as long as you play nice.
Yeah.
If you're lot, Paul, stop yapping off about Trump and going to campaign for Kamala Harris and stop slagging off the United States and Donald Trump.
Very good point.
You'll be received
People have
equally.
gone and supported candidates in other countries for decades. You know, Republicans came here to support the.
They haven't had the foreign secretary calling him a neo-Nazi-loving sociopath.
That is quite normal. But I think the bigger point is that if we want a free trading world, then you can't have this sort of America first. You know, putting the barriers up.
Well, it is the leader of the first world.
He can do that. Well, he can, but it will damage us. It will damage us.
Just moving on slightly, can I ask you about the move and the lack of optimism from Downing Street? Rachel Reeves now has taken 6 months to realise that maybe she needs to change gears. Do you agree they've made a mistake thus far, being so dooming and gloom?
Mistake's going a little far, but I do think there was a lot of doom and gloom. And I think the problem is they opened the books, they saw the true state of things, and they were imbued by this sense of it being grim. But we do need a bit of a spring in our step. And look at Obama when he came in on a policy of hope, and similarly.
Even Tony Blair.
Tony Blair was my next point. Exactly that. So you need a bit of optimism.
I think, Paul, to be honest, and I know that you were a Labour advisor, the situation we've got here is a bit chaotic. It's chaotic in its actuality of how these policies are rolled out. And the communications of what the Labour Party are doing are also chaotic. So we're all very, very muddled about what's going on.
Well, I think that's a fair point, but I do think
that's from you.
That is a fair point, but I do think they're getting a grip on it now, and they are rolling out things that make sense to people. But
such as.
Well, all the policies that we've had.
Name a policy that makes sense for the country.
We just renationalised the railway. We're taking all of those profiteering railway companies out.
Yeah, but we haven't seen the results. It comes to something when I sit in the middle of my little Higginson Park in sunny little Marlow with all the little kids on the swings, and then there's a load of tractors driving straight through the town.
Yeah.
With our MP commenting on the news tonight, Joy Morrissey, good on her. on the side of the farmers, but that's just
those farmers aren't even being affected by the change in inheritance tax.
Yeah, but
they're not the millionaires.
Why are they protesting then, Paul?
Because they don't like the Labour government.
They want
to cause trouble. They want to cause trouble.
There's a massive
militant unions. You're not supposed to support them.
There's a massive story out at 10 o'clock. We'll be breaking it on this show tonight, and the journalists will be here revealing all the details about the farming situation with the government. That's absolute nonsense. As if they'd be traipsing down to London with their tractors if they had nothing to worry about.
Labour, I remember coming there and complaining.
They rarely take time off work, farmers. They only do it for a reason.
Yeah.
Skin's enough as it is. I think
they're worried about how they bequeath their farm.
But they're not the ones affected. The ones on the streets, blockading our supermarkets, are not the ones affected by the policy change.
The whole point of this is half the battle is won if you've got a dose of optimism. You're buoyant, you're hopeful, you can instil some confidence into the country. I'm not a massive fan of Boris Johnson. He did that well. Tony Blair, I'm certainly no fan of him. He's the bad smell that doesn't go away. He did that very well, you know. Things can only get better. So there we go. Change of gear. Your new year could be going very well as well. You'd be feeling optimistic to the bones because you could win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash from us in our Great British giveaway. Here's all the details you need to win.
There's just 6.
Very good luck to you. Now, as residents are told, asylum seekers loitering outside a school is a cultural issue by police. Yes, you heard that right. Asylum seekers hanging outside schools is a cultural issue. Tonight, we're asking, should hotel migrants be put in detention centres? Ben Leo tonight, back in just a tick.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight, every night from 11 p.m.
We've got the Daily Mail now with the latest in the court case over whether a man is a woman or a man. It's a tough question. And J.K. Rowling has given her opinion. I think I can guess what it is, Cressida.
Explosive twist in Australia's What is a Woman trans battle as Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling gets involved. So this is the court case Giggle versus Tickle. Tickle was a...
He's Mr. Men.
That's right. It's a Mr. Men trans battle.
Kind of is a Mr. Man.
It was a women's group, wasn't it? Tickle, Giggles... Oh, I get it wrong. Giggles for girls. And Roxy Tickle, who is a trans woman, wanted to join this group and wasn't allowed, was banned for being a biological male, and then sued and amazingly got $10,000 for this, which is already extraordinary to me.
Yeah.
But it's now doubling down and is going to file a cross appeal seeking to upgrade the judgment.
Yeah.
So Roxy has come back for another bite of the cherry.
And I've had a look at this Roxanne Tickle, the trans woman.
Pretty?
No, not one of the pretty ones. Not a Blair White. Just looks like, to be honest, it looks like
you could be sued for $10,000.
Looks like one of us.
Yeah.
To be honest, no. Like I mean, I'll happily.
For yourself.
No, I think it's an absolute. It's a farce, and it's making a mockery of It's not just making a mockery of women's right to have their own spaces. It's making a mockery of genuine trans people who actually put some effort in and look like a woman.
What do you mean a genuine trans
And also,
people?
if
We don't believe in that.
If your name was Roxanne, if you were going to transition, you wouldn't pick the name Roxanne Tickle.
What?
You choose Tess.
You Tess. That's a kind of name. No, the truth is that's one of the problems, is you get a choice of the name you're going to choose. And of course, you're going to choose like a hot Roxanne. That's a hot Roxanne. That's a great name. They're not going to choose.
You don't think
Louis.
Tess would work better with Tickle?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to Ben Leo tonight, only on GB News. Now, police in Northamptonshire have told migrants they must adhere to cultural expectations, quote-unquote, following reports they were loitering around a school, of all places. The police have promised to deliver some work around what they call appropriate behaviour to the asylum seekers and step up patrols around the school to reassure the residents of Deanshanger near Milton Keynes. Everything is under control, according to the police. However, it does make you wonder just how on earth we've got ourselves into this situation to begin with. So tonight we're asking, should hotel migrants be put in detention centres? And as ever, let me know your thoughts by heading to gbnews.com/your say. We're joined now by Labour activist and writer Aisha Ali Khan and the former Minister of State for Crime, Tom Pursglove. Good evening to you both. Thank you for joining me. Aisha, I'll start with you. I'm of the persuasion that we should just put these asylum seekers in detention centres. I don't think they should be free to roam communities and towns as they please. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I just want to point out the article that that we're discussing, the one that was posted on the Telegraph website yesterday about migrants, asylum seekers, young men loitering outside a primary school and causing concern to both parents, teachers, staff members, community members, and so on. I've had a really good look at the article, and obviously the police have been informed and they've been involved, and there's actually been no need for concern. The police said they've visited, they've spoken to men who were seen outside schools. There's no evidence of them recording anything. Obviously, these are parents' concerns, and the school obviously sent out letters and so on as well. Now,
Hang on a minute, Aisha, sorry. So
we had a situation, where we had migrants that were moved into a barge at BBC Stockholm, and that had to be shut down because it was, first of all, it was costing a fortune. We're talking tens of millions.
What's that got to do with men hanging outside schools?
First of all, I'm just saying that your question was, should we put asylum seekers and migrant workers and etc., all these people into detention centres? We tried that. First of all, it was very expensive. It didn't work.
It wasn't a detention centre, Aisha, because they were free to leave as and when they wanted. They were travelling into Dorset. They were getting buses. There was buses put on for them. I'm talking about if we can erect Nightingale hospitals during a pandemic at the click of a finger, we need to put these people into detention centres until their future is sorted out.
So you're suggesting we put them into a prison where we lock the doors and we don't allow them out? Is that the suggestion?
Yeah.
I think that's really inhumane. I think what we need to do, and I've said this so many times before, we need to have a system that's efficient, that's robust, that's actually good practice, where we get people in who come here and claim asylum. We process their applications.
Okay.
We say yes to some, we say no to others, and then we deport them.
Okay.
And that's it.
We
need a new system. It's just not working. The system we have.
Let me get the thoughts of Tom Pursglove. Tom, good evening. I don't want strange men from foreign lands loitering outside my children's schools.
I don't want anybody loitering outside children's schools. It's completely unacceptable for migrants to be doing that, as it is for anybody else. And I would expect the police to take a robust approach to that. And I would also expect those running these hotels to be equally responsive in dealing with those issues. And it was one of the reasons why in government I was so determined that we closed hotels. I closed over 150, getting on for 200 of them, because I just think they are an inappropriate form of accommodation. But the best way of solving this issue is to fix the fundamentals, and that is to have a policy and an operational approach that flows from that delivers removals. And I think, what's going on in the US, as you've touched on in the programme already, is really interesting, that real commitment and dogged efforts to remove people who've got no right to be here. And at the same time, deterring people from coming in the first place, and swiftly removing people is part of that. But it's why you need a third country like Rwanda, like the one that we had. The government chose to cancel that, somewhere that you can send people, because what that fundamentally then allows you to do is anybody who arrives, for example, on a small boat can be detained and then very, very quickly relocated to that third country, which immediately shuts down this whole terrible trade in the Channel.
Aisha, just to remind you that these people come in the Channel, the country illegally. They're criminals, and so they should. You call them detention centres, prisons. Well, so be it. Criminals do end up in prisons, even if it's temporarily. Can I just play you a phone call from this is a recording from a concerned mother back in December from the same location in Milton Keynes. This is a call to the asylum centre in question, complaining that asylum seekers, migrants, were loitering around the school. Take a listen to this.
Yeah, are you guys aware that the asylum seekers that you guys have got in the hotel are down by the school taking photographs?
Are they doing it right now?
They're not right now, but they were about 9 o'clock this morning.
Our phone's been going crazy all morning. I've been getting a lot of phone calls.
Oh, bless you.
I'm aware of what's going on.
When I drove by this morning, it seemed like it was all just men in the hotel. Is there actually any women and children, or is it just men?
No, there isn't any women and children.
So, Aisha, what would you do with asylum seekers or anybody taking pictures of children outside schools?
Of course, that's a big no-no. There's no need for anybody to be loitering outside. There's no need for anybody to be taking photos and basically potentially putting children at risk whatsoever. And I'm so glad that the police got involved and spoke to these migrants and so on. But we do have to understand that, and I'm not excusing this whatsoever. I myself am very I work in the school. I understand about safeguarding, and it must be really worrying for parents to see men that shouldn't be outside schools and they're outside schools. But I keep going back to the article. I've read this article. I haven't spoken to police officers myself in person, but the police officers quoted in the article have said that they have spoken to these men and they've basically determined that there were no photos being taken.
Well, that's all right. Aisha, sorry to interject, I apologise, but look, if I go and nick some food from Tesco or a shop or whatever, and then the police come and question me and say, hello, Mr. Ben, did you steal that bag of rice from Tesco? I'm going to say no. So the police aren't going to go to the asylum centre and say, oh, hello, Mr. So-and-so from wherever you're from. Did you go and film young children at the school gates? Of course they're not going to sit there and say no. So, I mean, to what extent do you think the police could establish a proper investigation?
Well, look, I'm not excusing, if this is what's happened, I'm not excusing it whatsoever.
Well, I think it is what's happened.
Like I said, I cannot excuse behaviour like this whatsoever. There's huge safeguarding concerns right there. And as a parent, I'd be concerned. As a teacher, I'd be even more concerned, because we are there to look after and safeguard people's children that are entrusted into our care every single day. But I do feel that speaking to these, the idea of just locking these men up, and women and children as well in some cases, locking them up in these detention centres, not letting them out, not letting them basically have the freedom of visiting friends and so on. It's just too extreme. I think, like I said before, we should not be keeping these people for months and months, and in some cases years as well. We need to process their claims. We need to basically, if their claims are successful, fantastic, move on to the next stage. If they're not successful, let's get them deported, let's get them sent back.
Yeah.
But this is my point. We've spent so many, literally £22 million on 1 year of this barge that we did. That could have been spent on improving the system. That could have been spent in better immigration processes, more civil servants, more
Could have been spent on the Navy patrolling the Channel. Tom Persclove, last word to you. These detention centres, are they just pie in the sky? Is this just some fantasy for people who want controlled borders?
Well, it is if you accept the sort of ongoing approach to this that the government's taking, because without a deterrent, what we're seeing is vastly increased numbers of people coming, 25% increase of small boat crossings last year without one. And the way that you get to grips with this is exactly as I said earlier, to have the obvious deterrent of being relocated if you arrive in the United Kingdom. They've changed all of the language around this. I used to talk about this issue as illegal migration. I still believe it is illegal migration. I continue to talk about it in those terms. But ministers refer to this now as irregular migration. I don't think your viewers and people across the country judge it from that point. If you arrive here illegally in a small boat, you should expect to be returned to your country of origin or relocated to a third country. And you simply will not get to grips with this. And all the time that you don't have those sorts of measures in place, you are essentially accepting unlimited numbers of people from certain nationalities because you haven't got anywhere to send them. And that's a completely unacceptable situation. You've got to have the political will to do something different if you're going to crack this.
Where there's a will, there's a way. As I explained in the introduction to this show, you just need some oomph up your backside and a will to do it. Former Minister of State for Crime, Tom Persclove, and Labour activist and writer Aisha Ali Khan, thank you both for joining me this evening. All right, coming up next, breaking tonight in the last few hours, a bombshell investigation from the Sunday Times. It's out tomorrow. We're going to be digging deep into it. It reveals that he's named here, I'm not going to name him anymore, the Southport Monster. I call him a demon. His obsession with mass shootings was dismissed as merely an interest in news and world affairs. If people had done their jobs properly at Prevent, at these counter-terror organisations meant to be watching this cretin, Would he have gone on to commit the horrors in Southport? I'll be joined by former top cop Oliver Lawrence next.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's going to stay quite changeable over the next couple of days with some outbreaks of heavy rain and some showers and some strong winds too, although there will perhaps be some glimmers of sunshine in the middle. We have this weather front situated out to the west of the UK at the moment. That pushes its way eastwards through the rest of this evening, bringing some quite heavy downpours, particularly to parts of northern England and Scotland, and this perhaps turning to sleet and snow over any high ground. Some outbreaks of showery rain across parts of Wales and England, but this generally a little lighter and more scattered than further north. Some clear skies developing behind, and that will likely turn those temperatures quite chilly overnight, dropping below zero across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland. So there may be some ice around to start on Sunday. It will be a bit of a cloudier start, though, across parts of Wales and southern England through Sunday morning. We've got this area of heavy rain arriving across the very far southwest, so a damp start to the day for Devon and Cornwall. For parts of Northern Ireland and southern parts of Scotland, a dry and bright start to the morning with some sunshine around. But further north, there will still be some showers, and again, these likely falling as sleet and snow, mainly over the high ground, but perhaps to lower levels for a time. As we then go through the rest of Sunday morning, that area of rain pushes its way northwards, spreading across much of the UK by the time we get to the afternoon. Some quite heavy downpours likely, and some blustery showers following in behind on that brisk southwesterly wind. That southwesterly wind does draw in some slightly milder air, so temperatures in the far southwest turning a little milder, 9 to 11 degrees, but elsewhere around about average, so 6 to 8 degrees quite widely. To start on Monday then, we have got low pressure across the UK, so heavy blustery showers still feeding in from the southwest. These likely to merge to longer spells of rain across northern parts, and plenty of showers as well across the far north of Scotland. So an unsettled start to the new working week, and that theme continues through much of next week. However, there are some hints that we'll see high pressure building and turning a little bit chillier by next weekend.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Some breaking news in the past hour or so. Tonight from the Sunday Times, the Southport killer was referred to the counter-terrorism programme PREVENT 3 times, yet his obsession with mass shootings was dismissed as an interest in world news and current affairs. Counter-terror police concluded the demon, who I'm not naming anymore, I've already said so far, had no cause or political belief and, quote, was not in danger of being radicalised. What a joke. Writing for the Sunday Times, Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, she said a review of the referral thresholds to PREVENT is now underway. It will look in particular at individuals obsessed with school massacres and also Islamist extremism, she said. We're joined now by the Managing Director of the Public Safety Foundation, Oliver Lawrence. Oliver, good evening. We now have this government review into PREVENT. Is it just time the whole scheme was shut down? Because I think this monster from Southport, he was the 3rd or 4th person to slip through their net and go on to commit fatal atrocities.
Yeah, good evening, Ben. Yes, this is the 4th time that somebody has gone on to commit absolute horrific atrocities as a result of being referred to PREVENT. You know, this has come about as a result of an absence of ideology and a view that this individual was just obsessed with TV affairs and local news and world events, when it was far more sinister than that. Over many years, PREVENT, police and other local authorities and were advised that this young man had an increasing obsession with knives, with IRA terrorism, with Islamic extremism, with Rwanda genocides. His behaviour was escalating time and time again, yet he was referred back to local authorities and local police to deal with and moved away from the PREVENT scheme.
Yvette Cooper writes tomorrow that interventions from PREVENT shouldn't stop in cases where people are suspected to be neurodiverse. They've got, autism or they're on the spectrum for some reason. Does that mean currently anybody who does have one of those conditions, who is neurodiverse, they are, kicked out the PREVENT scheme or not treated as seriously as, say, someone who isn't on the spectrum?
Well, my concern, Ben, as I sit here with you tonight, is that are there any more of these horrid monsters in our society that have been deemed not suitable for PREVENT because they are suffering from neurodiverse issues or maybe on the spectrum? I think it would be highly advisable. I'm sure PREVENT are currently going through all the referrals that have been made over the past couple of years to make sure that nobody else has slipped through the net. It's quite clear that this review needs to go far and wide to understand how individuals are triaged, how they're identified and referred, and what on earth has gone on in terms of the decision-making processes with regards to this particular monster in question. But yes, it would seem that neurodiversity and the issues around Mr. Radakabana's health and his thoughts have been diverted and deemed not appropriate for the PREVENT scheme, which has been a systemic failure several times now.
Yeah, indeed. And I read a report last week. I'm not sure if you remember the London Bridge terror attack in 2017. I happened to be there. I stumbled upon it and I saw some horrors. I was working at my old newspaper at the time. I went down for a sandwich. Anyway, the Lion of London Bridge, a chap called Roy Lana, he's a guy from Southwark in South London, a big Millwall fan. He fought off those knife-wielding Islamist extremists. He undoubtedly saved lots of lives that day in Borough Market. He was lumped on the PREVENT scheme by counter-terror cops to ensure that he wouldn't turn into some extreme far-right bigot, which is... It just seems absurd that all we hear these days about extremism seems to be the so-called far-right, which I don't think exists as much as they say it does.
Well, Islamic extremism is the greatest challenge facing counter-terrorism police in the UK today. They are the facts. The second one leading behind that is far-right extremism. So counter-terrorism police do have their hands full, but they have their hands full particularly with Islamic extremism and in that area of counter-terrorism policing. Far-right extremism is something that's popping up because of the constant rhetoric that is fired against people that generally hold normal views and are concerns for the welfare of citizens, and us not being able to have these difficult and courageous conversations about how we tackle some of these extremist views that exist within our society. And until we're prepared to start having those difficult and courageous conversations, be able to call out these ideologies for what they are, then I'm afraid we're not going to get any further. We need to sit down together, understand the challenges and move forward as one. But counter-terrorism policing faces many challenges. It investigates thousands of cases of terror-related matters every year and does keep us in the vast, very, very safe. But however, what we are seeing of late is significant failures which we need to get on top of.
Yeah, OK. Oliver Lawrence, thank you so much for your contributions tonight. Nice to speak with you. Let's speak to my panel now. Linda, Paul, Paula, welcome. Linda, everybody's far-right these days, aren't they? If you've just got concerns that there's too many people in the country and the public services can't support everybody, you're a far-right extremist.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. It's an overworked expression and it's not really very precise. We don't know what it means exactly. And actually, in the summer, it was used to describe a lot of people who were just naturally fearful about what was going on.
Yeah.
That is not to say that there's not a problem at the other end of the scale, because there is. What worries me is our society is becoming much, much more polarised and therefore much more violent. That is a real problem. But it doesn't surprise me that things have been slipping through the net at PREVENT, because I've spoken to senior officers over recent years and they have said they have severe doubts that PREVENT is very, very effective. I think the problem as well is that you've got, as our guest just said then, you've got people who are unprepared to have difficult conversations and that their decision-making is slow. It turns into a bit of a talk fest. There's a bit of a box-ticking exercise going on. And naturally, very dangerous people do slip through the nets.
Okay.
And one final point, I spoke to one borough commander when I was doing some work with evacuated Afghan refugees, evacuees really, and he told me He was extremely concerned about the incendiary nature, for example, of some bridging hotels that were men-only bridging hotels. Now, that's distinct from the demon, as you name him, but it's still a very, very big problem for society.
Very quickly, you two, 20 seconds each, Paul, your thoughts on
Well,
Prevent.
there has been an absolute catastrophic failure, but the answer is not to scrap Prevent, it's to spend more money and put more resource in it, because as a strand of our contest strategy, you would need to do more to stop it.
Sounds like the NHS, Paul, are just throwing the money at it and hope it works.
Can I say, it's not just about Prevent. He was also caught with a knife in 2022 on a bus, and he told a police officer he wanted to stab someone, and unbelievably, he wasn't arrested.
He smashed up a school classmate's wrist with a hockey stick. He came into school with knives.
Yeah, if a white guy was at a football match and threatened to stab someone and had a knife, he would be arrested by the police, so he should have been arrested on the bus.
OK. Right, coming up, take a look at this. Syria? Yeah. Oh, I just wanted a quick friendly chat. No one's around. Must have been something I said. A brand new weekly feature on this show. We've called it Leo Unleashed, where I get my backside out of this studio and travel all across Britain to get a flavour of your life in your communities. What's great about your town? What can be improved? And just how a government policy is affecting your everyday lives. That's next on Ben Leo Tonight.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
More showers to come across Cyprus this weekend, although it does look dry out by Monday. There's more wet weather to come across parts of Spain and Portugal too. There are those showers clearing by Monday. Plenty of fine and sunny weather over the central Mediterranean. Good-looking day on Sunday across Sicily and Sardinia. Some sunshine for the Balearics, but more rain heading into southern Spain and Portugal. Plenty of sunshine in the Canaries this weekend, and things are warming up into the mid-20s on Monday in Tenerife.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Well, you know I like an auction.
Yes.
And I've bought some strange things at auction before. You have as well, haven't you, Eamon?
Yeah, well, Ellie would throw this in the bin that you're coming up with now.
How about this? Admiral Lord Nelson's hair.
No.
Cut. I mean, is this a bit spooky? Cut as he lay dying during the Battle of Trafalgar, so someone's gone, oh, we'll just have a little bit of that there. In 1805, is on sale in Jersey, and it's a little cup. How much would you pay for the hair?
No, nothing. It would go in the bin, straight in the bin.
What, even? What? Nelson, that's very disrespectful to the British culture and heritage.
I think it's disrespectful that he lay there dying and someone thought, we'll take a quick stick.
Well, maybe they just had, maybe they thought, you know, because there's obviously the famous painting, isn't there, of the Battle of Trafalgar. Maybe they thought, we'll give him a quick haircut, and then they kept their £15,000.
No,
15 grand.
Where's the hair come from? What part of the body?
His
is the
head,
hair from?
Eamon.
Well, it could be his underarm. I don't know. You know, it depends.
All right, let me have a little look.
You would bid
it's very
more.
curly. I think it's his. I think it's his head. It's his head. What?
You would bid more for his head than say his underarm.
Well, I think so. Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah.
Or anywhere else.
I would hope so. A little less whiffy there, the head hair. And there it is. And it's in a little pot.
No.
And the only way you can probably find out is if you DNA test it, I guess. It's definitely his.
Whoever pays for that is bonkers.
Well,
that's creepy.
I was seriously tempted to make a bid for a toupee, not for me, but as worn by John Wayne.
John Wayne's wig?
Yeah.
Why?
Wow.
Why?
Well, why I didn't get it was my wife said to me, that is not coming into the house.
Well, she's right. She's right.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Hello, welcome back to Ben, Leo Tonight. Now, it's time for a brand new weekly feature on this show. I've called it Leo Unleashed, where I'll be dragging my backside out of this studio and travelling all across the UK to see what life is like in your communities. What's great about where you live? How can it be improved? How is government policy affecting you? I'll be having plenty of fun along the way too, just like I did this week when I visited Crawley in West Sussex to get the views of the local residents on everything from immigration and the first 6 months of Labour.
Georgia.
Georgia?
Yes.
I've been to Georgia. You like England?
Yeah.
England good?
Good.
Nice.
Very good. Yeah.
OK. All right. I am in Crawley in West Sussex, a little while away, maybe half a mile from Gatwick Airport, home to massive companies and airlines such as British Airways, Virgin Atlantic. We're going to try and find the MP, Peter Lamb, the Labour MP, who caused a bit of controversy in recent months by saying winter fuel allowance pensioners had a choice to put the heating on or not. Home to a massive Chagosian community as well. Oh, here, hello. What happened with what?
What are your camera for in that?
Oh, we're just exploring the delights of Crawley. What do you love about the place?
It's become bigger in that, more colours, more beautiful colours.
Colours of what, flowers and plants or?
Nah, people in that, different languages and that.
Ah, the diversity, the multiculturalism.
Cosmopolitan.
What in the hell's diversity?
You know your MP, Peter Lamb, you know him, or of him?
Of him.
The Labour MP. He said a few months ago that pensioners who were upset about losing the winter fuel allowance, they have a choice whether to put the heating on or not.
I think they're the sort of comments that I've learnt to expect from the Labour Party.
Oh, you didn't vote Labour then?
No.
Is there one thing that you love about Crawley?
Being at home.
There's no place like home.
What would you like to see them do?
Crack down on immigration.
Interesting you mentioned migration because, of course, there's the migrant hotel. That's still open after the protests last summer.
Yes.
How do you feel that that's still there, still operating?
More needs to be done just to end this constant wave of people coming to this country.
How are you? Nice to see you, Ben from GB News.
Yeah, okay.
Is this still a hotel for asylum seekers?
Yeah.
Yeah, still.
I'm security here, yeah?
Your security?
Yeah, I'm security.
Oh, okay. Is it open to the public, this hotel, or is it closed?
No, it's not allowed.
From Syria.
Syria?
Yeah.
Why did you leave? Because of the war?
Show me all.
You go inside. Go inside.
Oh, I just wanted a quick friendly chat. No one's around. Must have been something I said. That's fine.
Working.
Oh, there's an NHS worker there.
Yeah, there are people in
That's interesting. The NHS here. Did they get their free healthcare for the asylum seekers?
We don't know anything about it.
Where are you from?
Georgia.
Georgia?
Yes.
I've been to Georgia.
Yeah.
You do a very nice pizza style.
Very good dish.
Yeah.
Very good.
When did you come to England?
No understand, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry.
Are you happy? Are you good?
Yes, very good.
Good man. You like England?
Yeah.
England good?
Good.
Nice.
Very good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good day. And what do you like about Crawley?
I love Crawley, man. It's beautiful. I can't lie.
What do you love about it?
Everything, man. The community is beautiful. It's wonderful, wonderful community.
What do you think could be improved? One thing that you'd like to see some attention given to?
Improved. I think. Look, I don't know what I think. I can't lie, but I do like Crawley.
What organisation are you from? The Socialist Party. The MP for Crawley, he said that pensioners who had been suffering from the winter fuel cut, they should just, well, they have a choice.
Disgusting, and when I stood in his old ward, I called for him to resign. The Socialist Party is in line with most people in this country who, even if they did vote Labour previously, the polls are showing that they don't want to vote Labour this time.
And there might be a vacancy for Prime Minister soon, so maybe I should have aspirations.
How come you guys wear masks?
It's cold outside, brother.
It's cold, it's a bit chilly.
But naturally, Crawley's live.
Lively, trust me.
Hi, my friend. Sorry to bother you. Do you know where Peter Lamb's office is, the MP?
No, no idea.
No?
Yeah.
OK. What's your favourite thing about Crawley?
The person, business, and everything. That's good.
Looking for Peter Lamb's office, the Labour MP, do you know?
God knows.
No.
He is, no.
Do you know he's the MP?
No. I don't follow politics like that, unfortunately. So.
Probably a good thing. Yeah. Probably a good thing. All right, enjoy. All right, there we go. A little bit of fun in Crawley in West Sussex. Paul, what do you make of the NHS worker going into the migrant hotel there? There were stories last week suggesting this was happening. There was permanent doctors and nurses on site for these migrants, yet at the same time Brits can't see GPs, can't get hospital appointments. That's a bit two-tier, isn't it?
Well, first of all, Crawley, great place, was there several times during the year, was I was campaigning to be the Police and Crime Commissioner for Sussex, and Peter Lamb's doing a great job. On your point on the NHS, I mean, people that are coming, they do need health care, and what we don't want is epidemics in those kind of conditions. So you can see why the NHS are going in there, because it's a sort of place where you can get viruses spreading.
So it's fair they jump the queue ahead of, say, old Doris, who's 80 years old?
They're not jumping the queue, but they are just making sure they are healthy places, and that's perfectly reasonable.
Linda?
But as I said earlier, I have occasionally worked in some of these bridging hotels, not asylum-seeking hotels, bridging hotels, and actually one room is always set aside for medical professionals every week on a permanent basis. That's what happens. So I'm not saying that shouldn't happen, because these people get sick. Some of them get very sick. And when you're dealing with first-cousin marriages, you're dealing with children with a lot of disabilities that have to be cared for, but it comes at a price. And we can't afford that kind of care for everyone. Someone's going to suffer. Someone will lose out.
Yeah, well, it's like the worldwide health service. It's no longer the NHS, and of course they are jumping the queue. That's obvious. And a lot of them are bringing over diseases to this country, diseases that we haven't had for many, many years. So,
like what?
Cholera was one of them.
We've got 10 seconds left.
Why are you laughing?
Unvaccinated communities have a lot of diseases. Measles, for example.
Yeah,
that's
quite a few.
OK, we'll continue this in the next hour. If you want me to come to your town or city or village in the UK, let me know. ben.leo@gbnews.uk or at benleo444 on Twitter. Coming up at 10 o'clock, we've got Sunday's front pages. We'll be joined by journalists with a big exclusive on the front of the Sunday Express as farmers lead protests all across the UK. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. A big news hour coming up. Don't go away. First, though, your weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's going to stay quite changeable over the next couple of days, with some outbreaks of heavy rain and some showers and some strong winds too, although there will perhaps be some glimmers of sunshine in the middle. We have this weather front situated out to the west of the UK at the moment. That pushes its way eastwards through the rest of this evening, bringing some quite heavy downpours, particularly to parts of northern England and Scotland, and this perhaps turning to sleet and snow over any high ground. Some outbreaks of showery rain across parts of Wales and England, but this generally a little lighter and more scattered than further north. Some clear skies developing behind, and that will likely turn those temperatures quite chilly overnight, dropping below zero across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland. So there may be some ice around to start on Sunday. It will be a bit of a cloudier start, though, across parts of Wales and southern England through Sunday morning. We've got this area of heavy rain arriving across the very far southwest, so a damp start to the day for Devon and Cornwall. For parts of Northern Ireland and southern parts of Scotland, a dry and bright start to the morning with some sunshine around. But further north, there will still be some showers, and again, these likely falling as sleet and snow, mainly over the high ground, but perhaps to lower levels for a time. As we then go through the rest of Sunday morning, that area of rain pushes its way northwards, spreading across much of the UK by the time we get to the afternoon. Some quite heavy downpours likely, and some blustery showers following in behind on that brisk southwesterly wind. That southwesterly wind does draw in some slightly milder air, so temperatures in the far southwest turning a little milder, 9 to 11 degrees, but elsewhere around about average, so 6 to 8 degrees quite widely. To start on Monday then, we have got low pressure across the UK, so heavy blustery showers still feeding in from the southwest. These likely to merge to longer spells of rain across northern parts, and plenty of showers as well across the far north of Scotland. So an unsettled start to the new working week, and that theme continues through much of next week. However, there are some hints that we'll see high pressure building and turning a little bit chillier by next weekend.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed Heat Pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
This is Good Luck.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 10 p.m. This is Ben Leo Tonight, and breaking tonight, a big exclusive in the Sunday Express, national show of unity over tax disaster. Journalist David Williamson of the Sunday Express will be joining me in just a tick with all the latest details of the farmers' war with government, a bombshell story you won't want to miss. Elsewhere, another cracker. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is set to be dealt a devastating and embarrassing blow by being trumped on the Chagos Islands deal by the US President. It comes as Mauritius, get this, have been in talks with Iran over hosting Iranian universities on Chagos. And elsewhere, the scandal on Strictly rears its ugly head again. The Mail on Sunday. It's all coming in just a tick. Joining me this evening is journalist and communications advisor Linda Jubilee, former Labour special advisor Paul Richards, and political commentator Paula London. An absolutely massive news hour coming up, a deep dive into tomorrow's newspapers and breaking news stories. But first, here's your news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much. Very good evening to you. Our top stories. New details have emerged about how the Home Office missed several opportunities to identify the Southport child killer Axel Rudakabana as a terror threat. The Sunday Times claims a reviews found Rudakabana was referred to an anti-extremism programme 3 times, but his obsession with mass shootings was dismissed by counter-terrorism officers as an interest in world news, and they found he was not in danger of being radicalised. On Thursday, the 18-year-old was sentenced to a minimum of 52 years for the murders of 3 girls in a knife attack in Southport last year. It's led to outrage that he fell short of a full life tariff due to him being 17 at the time of the attacks, although the judge in sentencing, Mr Justice Goose, said it's highly unlikely Rudakabana will ever be released. Israel has prevented thousands of displaced Palestinians from returning home to northern Gaza after accusing Hamas of breaching the ceasefire deal. 4 female Israeli soldiers were released earlier and reunited with their families after being held in Gaza for 15 months. However, Israel says Arbel Yehud, a civilian, remains in captivity. Now, under the terms of the deal, Hamas was to release civilians before soldiers. Hamas says she is alive and well and will be freed next week. Well, despite the dispute, Israel released around 200 Palestinian prisoners from jail, prompting scenes of jubilation in the city of Ramallah in the West Bank. However, 70 of those most serious offenders, that's those convicted of the gravest crimes, are understood to be being deported to Cairo in Egypt before travelling to neighbouring countries, including Qatar and Turkey. This is the second release of hostages to take place since a ceasefire deal was agreed last Sunday. Around 90 hostages are still being held in Gaza. A 14-year-old has been charged with the murder of Birmingham schoolboy Leo Ross, who was stabbed in a country park on Tuesday. The youth, who can't be named because of his age, was arrested around 4 hours after 12-year-old Leo suffered fatal injuries on a riverside path in the Hall Green area. The youth has also been charged with 7 other offences, including possession of a bladed weapon. Leo's family have released a statement describing him as an amazing, kind boy who is loved so much by everyone. 3 teenagers have died and a 4th man suffered life-threatening injuries after a car hit a tree near Wakefield in West Yorkshire. They were travelling near the village of West Breton when it left the road and crashed on Friday night. The 18-year-old driver and 2 19-year-old passengers died, while 2 other men were taken to hospital, one of whom is in a critical condition. And 2 new weather warnings for snow and ice have come into effect for Northern Ireland and large parts of Scotland as the clear-up after Storm Éowyn continues. Extra engineers have been drafted in to help restore electricity across Ireland. Hundreds of thousands of people on both sides of the border were still without power earlier this evening. Meanwhile, travel services remain disrupted in Scotland. Trains and ferries have been suspended and roads remain closed. ScotRail has advised disruption on the trains will continue into Sunday. More than 40,000 customers in Scotland were without power on Saturday evening. Some will have to wait several days to be reconnected. Well, those are the latest GB News headlines, and more from me just after 11 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Aaron, thank you, and welcome at home to Ben Leo tonight, the second hour, the news hour. And there are some big bombshell stories in the Sunday papers to get through, including this one. This is a massive deal. The Chagos Islands deal is on the brink. An embarrassing and potentially devastating blow for Sir Keir Starmer. He's been accused of going behind the backs of our allies in the United States, Donald Trump, trying to rush this rather bizarre sail-through of the Chagos Islands. It's rumoured to cost us around £9 billion a year for the privilege of giving away our own territory, not least massive concerns over national security and indeed international security. The Sunday Telegraph reports that Donald Trump is now facing calls from top Republicans, including John Kennedy, he's a senator for Louisiana, a Republican, to block Sir Keir Starmer's Chagos Islands deal over fears it will make it easier for Iran to spy on the US. It comes, crucially, listen to this, it comes after Mauritius opened talks with Tehran about hosting branches of Iranian universities, which security experts fear could be used to spy on the UK-US military base at Diego Garcia. I'm joined by my panel again now to get stuck into this properly. Linda, Paul and Paula, welcome back. Paula London, there's a quote here from John Kennedy, that Louisiana senator, and it's quite damning for Sir Keir Starmer. He says, "Friends don't strike deals behind each other's backs, especially when our shared security is on the line." What is Keir Starmer thinking with this deal, and just how crucial is this new development tonight?
Well, firstly, he's not really thinking, which isn't unusual, but Trump is a very powerful leader and Trump understands how important security is and national security. And obviously the Chagos deal will undermine UK and US security. We can't do it. China as well and Iran are very close to Mauritius. Trump thinks with his head, Keir doesn't. Keir's a human rights lawyer, so he thinks, you know, everyone's pally-pally all the time. So, I mean, Trump will sort it out next week. I think he'll veto it next week.
Paul, what's he thinking? Keir Starmer. He's been embarrassed here, and he will be absolutely embarrassed to the core if this is trumped by Trump.
I mean, he was attempting to put right a very long standing wrong and an injustice that was committed to the people of those islands. But I think the deal itself now is the victim of the change of in the White House, and I think it is up in the air. I mean, some of these, the story comes from Trump's allies, so you have to ask the degree to which it's Trump himself or those around him, but certainly when the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee is making these kinds of points, you have to take it very seriously. So I suspect the deal is now back in play, and the Labour government's going to have to look again at it in the light of changes.
What do you make of that quote about the Prime Minister? Friends don't strike deals behind each other's backs, especially when our shared security is on the line. And
it wasn't behind their backs. It was very public, wasn't it? But it was when Biden was in the White House.
They tried to rush it through before Trump's inauguration. It didn't happen because Mauritius pulled out and wanted more money. The new Mauritian government wanted more money.
And Paula's point about security is very important as well. You know, China, Iran, these are not our friends.
And also, just to make clear to everybody watching at home, Mauritius has never owned these islands, the Chagos Islands. They've never had claim to them.
And the people living in Chagos don't want to go back to Mauritius. If you talk to them, and there's plenty of interviews been done...
They're all in Crawley.
They don't really... That's right, they are. They don't agree with it either.
Yep.
So you've got a situation which is a security issue, and the people themselves don't want it to happen.
I think there was
it's inexplicable.
It was a sort of legalistic route that was being taken, but I don't think it's taken into account the politics and the geopolitics of this situation.
Well, that's a big thing not to take into account, isn't it?
Yeah.
What does it say, Linda, about the competence of this Labour government? Well, I mean, it all seems just so scrappy and messy.
That does strike me as completely incompetent. I can't think of the reason why this would have happened. I heard a lot of talk, for example, in the week about the Ascension Islands being used as offshore sort of place to keep our asylum seekers. And actually, I agree that there should be something offshore, or at least somewhere, to keep asylum seekers, but not the Ascension Islands. It's a big runway. That's what the Ascension Islands is. Right. It's a big runway.
Have you been there?
My brother went there and had to refuel on his way to the Falklands, and no hotel. They had to stay in army barracks. There's no infrastructure, no hotel, no shops, no nothing. Just a runway.
I'm just reading the detail here. As well as being an ally of Mr. Trump, the senator, this John Kennedy, who's making these scathing comments.
They all call Kennedy, by the way. Everyone seems to be called Kennedy, don't they? You know.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they were related to the Kennedy dynasty.
Well, quite.
David Lammy is a close ally of this senator. So what does that say about the relationship with the Labour cabinet?
Yeah.
You know, where's the loyalty from Lammy?
I mean, Lammy has got incredible contacts with the American political class, actually. He's somebody who's very well plugged into all of that. And he'll be, you know, he's cognizant of all of this. He's going to be watching it very closely. Like I say, it's becoming unravelled, but we do need to do something about the injustice, and we do need to protect security and maintain it as a base.
Yeah.
But you need to square all those different circles. And I think...
What exactly is the injustice, though? That's the bit I don't understand.
A load of people that lived there were booted out without their say-so and then sent to the Crawley and elsewhere. And some of them want to go home, some of them don't, but some of them want to go home.
What are you saying about Crawley?
I told you earlier, I love Crawley. Great
Crawley's
place.
a lovely place. I'm sure the Chagosians are very happy in Crawley, in lovely West
Some of them are, some of them are not.
I mean, it was an injustice what happened to those people. They should be allowed home if they want to, but they've not even been consulted about it.
That's the other point. I mean, again, Peter Lamb, the MP for Crawley, is making that point very loudly, is that they weren't even told about this before the deal was announced.
And just on Starmer, Sir Keir Starmer, who is just a massive pen-pushing bureaucrat, in my opinion. He's just a complete lawyer from head to toe. He listens to the ICJ's ruling on this, was it 2021, saying that it was time for us to give the islands back to Mauritius. I'll make the point again. Mauritius have never owned the islands. We can just ignore the ICJ, as many other countries do. Why does Keir Starmer want to bow down to the international legal community so much?
I think it's his strength and his weakness. He is a lawyer and he believes passionately in the rule of law, but he also now needs to
Only
be
when
a
it suits
politician.
him. He's a human rights lawyer, but he thinks the human rights of people not born in this country that live here are more important than the human rights of people that live here, were born here and pay taxes. So that's the big problem with him.
OK, let's move on to the Sunday Express. The headline reads, National Show of Unity over tax disaster. It came today as farmers all across Britain staged a defiant show of unity to make it clear to Rachel Reeves they will not let her decimate their futures without a fight. Just briefly, Paul, you don't think that these farmers have anything to protest about? You think they're just doing it for a laugh?
I think that the ones that are on the streets in their tractors are not the ones affected by the change of the tax system.
How do you know?
And, well, because it's only 500 farms, and it's the multi-millionaire landowners who are doing it for tax dodge reasons, people like Clarkson. It's not actual our hard-working farmers at all. I think they're protesting for entirely different reasons.
Imagine how the farmers feel. I feel like Keir is almost trolling the farmers because he's decided to... He will get about 500... Let me finish, please.
It's not. Most farmers are unaffected, aren't
You don't know. You're just guessing that. But can I just finish? finish. About £500 million will be raised annually with this tax grab. And then he wanted to boast and say if he gets that, whether he gets it or not, he's going to give £500 million to foreign farmers. I mean, how do you think farmers feel in this country? They feel so disrespected by him.
I would stand there with a sign saying, pay your taxes, because the rest of us have to, and we want a national health service.
Well, actually, that's incorrect, because what I'm actually quite happy about, Rachel Reeves may be backtracking on this farmer deal because she's going to backtrack on the non-doms. She's realised 2 million millionaires are leaving, so they're not going to tighten up those rules as much now.
Don't you think they will, Paul, go back on the farmers? They will do a bit of a U-turn on the farmers.
I think they will.
It makes no sense.
Who knows?
Paul, you talk about the NHS in relation to this inheritance tax situation with the farmers. £500 million it's going to make the Treasury.
You can't have it both ways. Either it's decimating the...
And he's going to give it away anyway.
Hold your horses. Yeah. How many days of NHS service does £500 million cover?
Well, one, I imagine.
One day. So what's the point of the policy? Because it's not about money.
It's about fairness. It's about people paying their fair wage.
I don't think it's about fairness. I think it's about ideology.
They're not even paying the same as us, by the way.
Linda, you're a comms advisor. You're a comms strategist, communications, right? £500 million. What's the risk reward in that? The political fallout for £500 million quid. It's not about the money, is it?
So odd. I don't really understand it at all.
They've had a bad harvest this year as well. A lot of farmers.
Is that Keir Starmer, to be fair, has done a risk calculation on all of these moves, and they are solely to back up his ideological position. That's fine. They may work for that, but is it the best thing for this country? And is there not another group of people who feel that he is diametrically opposed to what they want to be happening, certainly in rural communities?
OK, the Mail on Sunday. Not sure if you're all going to care about this. I mean, some of our viewers do. Strictly Stars vile sexual jibe to dancer. Months after Wayne Evans was embroiled in BBC groping furore, the Mail on Sunday catches him on video making sick, spit-roasting remark. Mr Evans, who... he does the Go Compare ads. It's the Welsh guy.
It is, yeah.
He should never have been on the show in the first place. He's not even a celebrity.
I mean, it's something worth caring about. People shouldn't be behaving that way.
No, good point. I agree with you. I thought it was just about Strictly and, all the celeb side of it.
He just cannot help himself, clearly.
He was groping a lady as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was recorded crudely suggesting graphic sex sessions with a presenter. He's not here to defend himself, obviously. The BBC said we won't tolerate such behaviour. There we go. And next up is... what have we got next? It's the... Sunday Telegraph, back again. The Chagos Islands was the big one there, but the other story, Reeves at war with Labour blockers. The Chancellor warns MPs and peers not to stand in way of growth as rift with the left widens. I mean, Paul, again, as the Labour representative here, Rachel Reeves has been banging on about growth, not just for the first 6 months of Labour's tenure, but for many, many months before that, in the campaign trail. All I hear is talk and hot air. When are we going to get growth?
Well, the point of this story is that they're going to reform the planning laws so that we get some of that building going on and get the investment coming in and get the growth running. But, unfortunately, change does take ages. You have to put it through the legislation. We can't just do executive orders in this country because we have a parliamentary democracy. But her point being that the Lords and others shouldn't try and block this because we do need the growth. People need houses to live in, we need jobs in the industry, and this is what she's talking about.
Yeah, but I don't think she means just the Lords. I think she means other Labour MPs as well.
Well, she says peers. I mean, that's what the reference to the House of Lords.
Warns MPs
in the stand
and
first.
peers.
Yeah. And this rift with the left, well, there's always been a rift with the left. Whenever there's a Labour government, then the left comes out and tries to attack it. I mean, that's not news, is it?
It says here in tomorrow's paper, Miss Reeves will make a speech on Wednesday unveiling reforms to boost the construction of homes and national infrastructure. I am infamously, I've said before on this channel, I'm a bit of a NIMBY, point being because a lot of the new builds they make, especially around my neck of the woods, they are soulless, characterless. There's no infrastructure to support the houses.
But that's not an argument to not build them. That's an argument to build them better, surely.
But they just look horrible, is what I'm saying.
Well, agreed. Let's have some beauty in there. I'm an old William Morris acolyte, something beautiful to live in. Why not? With a garden and schools and pubs, that's what we want.
And also, people are being ripped off. You've got young families forking out £300,000, £400,000, £500,000 for these new builds, and they're not worth it. You lay in a bedroom upstairs, you can hear conversations in the kitchen downstairs, they'll blow apart in storms. I mean, they're just being ripped off.
Well, you need standards then, don't you? Good building standards, green standards, and a bit of green space for the kids.
Well, it sounds like Angela...
Beautiful spaces, that's what we need.
That's what we need.
OK, great first session on the papers. Lots more coming on the way. But first, a little bit of a gear change. How about starting your new year with an incredible £50,000 in cash from us? Could go towards a new build home. Well, it could be yours. yours, win our Great British giveaway. Here's all the details you need to win. All right, good luck to you on that. Coming up, the big exclusive in the Sunday Express. We've just touched on it. The headline is National Show of Unity over Tax Disaster. The journalist who pens that exclusive, David Williamson of the Sunday Express, will be joining me live in just a few moments with the latest details on the farmers' war with this Labour government. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
It's the body image thing that concerns me. It's young girls watching Love Island and really skinny girls and young boys
hit the gym but after this. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, they're seeing perfect bodies on the screen.
You don't need to go in the gym, Maymoon. You look gorgeous as you are, love.
I know. You see, the reason I don't enter anything like that, Kerry, is you know
you're going to win.
Exactly. And it's not fair. It's not fair, I think, on everybody else being there.
It's not fair.
No.
But Kerry, what do you think about the body image thing? You know, when you talk about your daughter, is that something that you'd worry about, her comparing herself to the likes of what she sees on the screen?
Now, this is where there's a conflict of interest for me because I've been brought up in this industry since I was 17, so it's massively affected me. I mean, when you're put on the front cover of magazines after having a baby with a stretch mark in the circle of shame, you know, it does do a psychological effect on you. I think a lot of celebrities who have been around for so many years as I have been affected by that. But everyone has to bear in mind, I've had my children. I'm in my 40s. I feel I'm entitled to have my tweaks and try and improve on what I think are going down south and health and safety, tripping over any things that I don't want to be tripping over anymore. But I definitely do believe, I mean, majority of the young girls that go on Love Island, they all have the same big lips, the same big eyelashes, all the butt implants, and they're barely in their 20s. You know, it's if you go to the airport now, I remember going to the airport and I looked around and all the girls looked exactly the same.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Now, the National Farmers Union showed their support for the farming community today, staging a National Day of Unity. And the aim was to show MPs that their campaign won't stop until changes to inheritance tax are finally subject to thorough consultation and scrutiny. It comes, of course, as earlier this week, supermarket bosses, including those from the likes of Tesco, warns that the policy's putting Britain's food security at risk. I'm joined now by Chief Political Commentator for the Daily and Sunday Express, David Williamson, to discuss his big exclusive, his story on the front of tomorrow's paper. David, good evening. Thank you for joining me. A real pleasure to speak with you. I've got your story here, the Sunday Express. Just talk us through it, please. What's the latest?
Oh, fantastic. Well, lovely to be with you. Basically, this is the farmers saying that they're not going to back down. And one of the great themes, I think, of Labour's response to the rows over inheritance tax and basically everything that's happened since the budget has been, well, we're not going to back down. But suddenly you see that here are people who are rooted in their communities, and very, very alarmed by what's happening. And today we saw across the United Kingdom, all the way from Northern Ireland to Scotland, all across Wales, and into the deepest shires of England, this act of very, very polite resistance. They were very clear from the word go that they didn't want to disrupt people's everyday life. And a large part of the protest was actually thanking the public for their support, because we've seen an incredible alliance forming. Because traditionally, farmers and supermarkets have often had a bit of a sparring relationship. It's almost, I don't know if you ever watched Star Trek, the Next Generation, and there's that astonishing thing of suddenly the Klingons are friends with Picard and everyone. And I think it's been quite a shock for the farmers to see so many supermarkets actually coming out and saying, we agree with you, and using their incredible clout to say to the Chancellor, say to the Treasury, this actually should be paused because food security is at risk. And suddenly this elevates it from a row about landowners versus Labour and the metropolitan elite and all that type of thing. Suddenly it's a very black and white argument. These people understand logistics, they understand profit and loss, and they're saying you are actually jeopardising something. And you talk to so many farmers and they describe how they haven't made a decent profit in a long time and life is already so stressful. So I think the supermarkets are very aware that if these people for whom farming is far more than an occupation pull out, well, then that could actually jeopardise things. And it's these sort of things in Whitehall where you pull a string and suddenly you find an explosion going off somewhere. Essentially, that's the type of situation which they're in right now.
David, you are quite correct. You said so far it's been a polite protest. Indeed, it has.
Yes.
You've spent some time with farmers. When are they going to stop being polite? And dare I say it, you mentioned it yourself, there is great public support for the farmers. And I don't think many British people would begrudge them encouraging food strikes. Stop delivering to the supermarkets. Make sure or try and ensure that food isn't being delivered. This is the turning of the screw. When are they going to stop being polite?
That would be an extraordinary move. I think at the moment they're just excited to actually have goodwill across the whole of the nation. And it was interesting, whenever they were converging on London recently, one of the things that a lot of farmers were excited about was actually demonstrating their power, but by making donations to food banks and actually showing in a more philanthropic way. I don't think they'd want to start emptying shelves, but you can see that the supermarkets themselves are clearly thinking this is the last thing that we want, is to actually end up in opposition with these guys. So I think it's made everybody sit up and realise we can't take these people for granted in the slightest.
OK, David Williamson, thank you so much. Great reporting, great story. That's in the Sunday Express tomorrow. Really appreciate your expertise. Let us know what you think about the farmers. I think I know already. We've campaigned, or covered it at least hard on this channel, and the majority of you, I'd say 95%, are really in support of the farmers. Let's move on to another front page that's just dropped. It's The Observer. It's the Sunday version of The Guardian, of course, The Observer newspaper. Really interesting headline here. Move closer to Europe, not Trump, voters tell Starmer. It's a poll, so I'm not sure how much I believe polls, but it says poll shows support for more trade with the European Union. Rachel Reeves admits that Brexit has damaged the UK. Well, of course she would. Keir Starmer, it says, is under growing pressure to forge closer economic links with Europe 5 years on from Brexit, as a major new poll shows voters clearly favour prioritising more trade with the EU over the US. It's quite a big poll, Paul Richards. The MRP survey of almost 15,000 people by YouGov for the Best for Britain think tank, that's a Remainer think tank, I think. Shows more people in every constituency in England, Scotland and Wales back closer arrangements with the EU. Keir Starmer obviously wants this, doesn't he?
I think there is a sense in the country that the promises made at the time of the referendum haven't quite panned out as people thought they might, and Brexit's benefits maybe aren't as strong as were promised back in 2016. But my argument is always the same, which is you can do both. You can be close to America and you can be close to Europe when it comes to trade. And that's what this story is about, trade. And that was the original idea of the EC, wasn't it? It was a trading bloc.
I know, look what it converged into.
Well,
open
but if
borders
we get back to the free
open
trade.
borders, one currency, European army. Paula, is this a betrayal of Brexit?
I wouldn't say it's betrayal, but it depends who you are in life. Like, if you care a lot about travelling, they're very unhappy now, obviously, because it's harder for them to travel or to buy property in foreign countries, etc. And or if you have a business and you're doing trade, obviously this is not a great deal at the moment. So, I mean, if they can have better deals for trade, I think it's a good thing.
Linda, it says here, a key paragraph in this story in The Observer. It says, even in Nigel Farage's seat of Claxon, more people think the UK is better off trading more with its neighbours on the continent in Europe than with the US under the Reform UK leader's ally, Donald Trump. I'm sorry, I don't care what this poll says. I do not believe that.
Well, I mean, you said it. You've got to look at this report in the context of it being in The Observer, the Sunday version of the Guardian newspaper. So that, for me, originally as a news reporter, that's a very angled paragraph. But it wouldn't surprise me if you went round Clacton and you spoke to people and you said, who would we be best trading with? We'd be best trading with our closest, our geographic.
Well, it depends if you have independent businesses or not as well.
You can't ignore it when people say that. It's just, I don't really like the way that's written. I think it's too angled.
It depends on the question as well. It doesn't say what the question was in this poll. It could have been framed in a way that suggests that trading is going to be easier with people who are on your doorstep and geographically a lot closer to you as opposed to the United States. You just don't know, and that's what matters a lot in these kind of polls.
MRP is a respected pollster, though, isn't it? I mean, it's not some made-up thing.
I don't trust polls. Average polls 1,000 people.
I mean, one of them said Reform was ahead in the polls this week, so we can't believe that nonsense, can we?
And at the end of the day, it's what Paul said. What you want.
As long as it goes my way, I believe it.
Trade with both. Trade with both.
Yeah, that's the way forward.
Yeah, but just look at polls. I mean, 2016, the front page of the New York Times said Hillary Clinton had a 99% chance of winning. You had all the pollsters who were wrong with Brexit.
They do get it.
I got a lot of stick last year because I just said that I think all polls were a bit of a scam, and the polling industry, certain faces came after me for it. But
I agree with you, though. I just think poll is an indicator. Some people are like, that's it, it's all done. Reform are going to win the next general election because the poll says. And I just think, oh, get a life.
Yeah.
OK, more papers coming up. What have we got next? The Sun on Sunday has just dropped, fresh from London Bridge, and the Sunday Mirror is coming as well. More from Rachel Reeves on the front page of that Sunday Mirror, actually, and Holly Willoughby. Remember her, ITV star? She's given a rather heartfelt and open interview to The Sun on Sunday. Plus...
It's amazing to us that you welcome us, even though we are from Great Britain.
Coldplay perform in India, and what do? They apologise for the British Empire. They were one of my favourite bands. I think now I'm going to have to relegate them to the dustbin of history. Plus, a brand new segment, Fails of the Week. The big weekend fails is coming up next. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
More showers to come across Cyprus this weekend, although it does look drier by Monday. There's more wet weather to come across parts of Spain and Portugal too. There are those showers clearing by Monday. Plenty of fine and sunny weather over the central Mediterranean. Good-looking day on Sunday across Sicily and Sardinia. Some sunshine for the Balearics, but more rain heading into southern Spain and Portugal. Plenty of sunshine in the Canaries this weekend, and things are warming up into the mid-20s on Monday in Tenerife.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's going to stay quite changeable over the next couple of days with some outbreaks of heavy rain and some showers and some strong winds too, although there will perhaps be some glimmers of sunshine in the middle. We have this weather front situated out to the west of the UK at the moment. That pushes its way eastwards through the rest of this evening, bringing some quite heavy downpours, particularly to parts of northern England and Scotland, and there's perhaps turning to sleet and snow over any high ground. Some outbreaks of showery rain across parts of Wales and England, but this generally a little lighter and more scattered than further north. Some clear skies developing behind, and that will likely turn those temperatures quite chilly overnight, dropping below zero across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, so there may be some ice around to start on Sunday. It will be a bit of a cloudier start, though, across parts of Wales and southern England through Sunday morning. We've got this area of heavy rain arriving across the very far southwest, so a damp start to the day for Devon and Cornwall. For parts of Northern Ireland and southern parts of Scotland, a dry and bright start to the morning with some sunshine around. But further north, there will still be some showers, and again, these likely falling as sleet and snow, mainly over the high ground, but perhaps to lower levels for a time. As we then go through the rest of Sunday morning, that area of rain pushes its way northwards, spreading across much of the UK by the time we get to the afternoon. Some quite heavy downpours likely, and some blustery showers following in behind on that brisk southwesterly wind. That southwesterly wind does draw in some slightly milder air, so temperatures in the far southwest turning a little milder, 9 to 11 degrees, but elsewhere around about average, so 6 to 8 degrees quite widely. To start on Monday then, we have got low pressure across the UK, so heavy, blustery showers still feeding in from the southwest. These likely to merge to longer spells of rain across northern parts, and plenty of showers as well across the far north of Scotland. So an unsettled start to the new working week, and that theme continues through much of next week. However, there are some hints that we'll see high pressure building and turning a little bit chillier by next weekend.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. We are rattling through the papers. We're deep diving into the big Sunday stories. I'm just going to read some quick comments out there on your say, which have made me chuckle in the last couple of seconds. Boney Jones, you're a GB News member. Thank you for your loyalty. Good evening. You've said, Ben, you seem to be struggling to read the text on that paper. Shouldn't you be looking at getting glasses or contacts for this? I'll tell you why, and my panel will back me up on this. Yeah. The text is so small. That's why I'm like this. Apologies, I will try and hold it in front of my face. Somebody else said it on email as well. I've actually had my eyes lasered, so I have 20/20 vision. I did used to wear contacts, but anyway, enough of me. Thank you for your comments. Let's have some more front pages. The Sunday Times, let's have another quick look at this. The headline being Southport, the fatal errors. We covered this earlier in the show. The monster from Southport, I'm not going to name him. He was shrugged off. His obsession with school shootings and massacres and terrorist attacks was shrugged off by the counter-terrorist scheme Prevent as just somebody who had an interest in news and world affairs. There's also a really interesting story at the bottom, which we'll discuss in a second. The UK apparently has first dibs on Greenland. Donald Trump, of course, the US president, wants to buy Greenland or perhaps in another world invade it, but he wants dibs on Greenland, but we have first dibs. The Sun on Sunday. Holly's kidnap bid tears. Nothing prepares you. I had to go on. Tearful Holly Willoughby has told of her murder and kidnap plot terror, admitting nothing can prepare you. It's her first interview since her stalker was jailed last year. Gavin Plum, I think his name was, as far as I remember.
He looked really scary as well.
Yeah, he was awful. He was an awful creature. And the Sunday Mirror. Rachel Reeves is back. I'll deliver for working people. The Chancellor says putting more cash in pockets drives decisions. She dismisses critics and says things cannot change overnight. Well, no, they can for Donald Trump, but not for Labour.
They're changing it overnight, just getting worse, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. Should we talk about this Greenland one? It's interesting.
It is interesting.
It's quite funny as well. So if it reads, if Denmark bows to demands from President Trump to sell Greenland, it would have to give Britain first refusal to buy it under terms of an agreement made more than a century ago. That's according to the last Danish minister for the Arctic island. So, this could spark, Paul Richards, another row between Starmer, Labour and Donald Trump.
Can you imagine? I don't know where the money would come from, though, however, if we could afford to buy Greenland. I mean, The thing about this is it's easy to laugh at this, but of course Trump is absolutely right in the sense that Greenland has got enormous strategic importance. His answer, though, is just to get his checkbook out and buy it. Typical Trump. You can have relations with Denmark. You can put the bases onto Greenland. You can have it as a strategic asset without just owning it.
But you see, in the terms of this deal, apparently we were given first dibs on Greenland because Canada was at the time a British dominion and only a couple of miles away.
Yes.
So we are supposed to have first refusal on Greenland.
Well, I think Denmark are pretty rich. Obviously, they have the monarchy as well. I don't think they'd want to sell it. Why would they?
They do want it. There's lots of reasons why Denmark wants Greenland. Yeah, there's lots of resources there. They want more land. Yeah, I would imagine that they want to...
I thought that Trump had to try to convince them. I mean, they haven't even decided yet.
Well, there is this narrative. I'm not sure on the logistics of it or the legalities of it, but there is this narrative that Denmark doesn't totally own Greenland. There's some sort of question.
It's like a lease agreement.
There's a question mark over it. And Donald Trump has said, you know, we want Greenland, whether that means economic force or tariffs or whatever else. Apparently, according to the Sunday Times tomorrow, you can read it in the paper, Donald Trump had a fiery, quote-unquote, fiery phone call with the Danish Prime Minister. How do you pronounce that? Mette Frederiksen. There we go. Should we move on to the Sun on Sunday? Fancy a bit of...
Yeah.
I suppose it is celeb, but it's also quite a serious story. Holly Willoughby went through that absolutely awful kidnap and rape threat turmoil. The monster behind it was sentenced last year to, I think, a life term. And it's her first big interview back since she quit this morning. She doesn't really talk much about Philip Schofield. I think the reporter for the Sunday Times, where this story originates, said that part of the interview taking place, one of the conditions was not to talk about Schofield. Sure. But, Linda, are you a big fan of Holly Willoughby? It's absolutely awful what she went through.
It was really, really terrible and very frightening, and it is very difficult for someone in the public eye to that extent to regain enough confidence to come back on air and perform well. And she has done that, not to the same degree, but she's certainly got back on air, and I think she's quite courageous. But the guy was horrific. I mean, this wasn't just a minor... Well, I say a minor bit of stalking. There's no such thing as minor stalking, of course. But he was definitely planning to kill her, rape her and kill her.
I think when he was arrested, he was in days away or in
it was imminent. It was imminent, yeah.
Another one here on the Sun on Sunday. 1,600 are left to roam free British streets after being released by Prevent. The Southport killer, of course, as we've said many times over the past hour and 40 minutes, was missed by Prevent, the counter-terror scheme. Apparently, according to the Sun on Sunday, there were 1,600 others who have been let go by Prevent. Paula, London?
Stories like this really anger me. It was people like Keir Starmer that would go to court to try to get these people to stay in this country because of their human rights. And we need to just care more about taxpayers, British people that were born here. And I will never understand why these human rights lawyers are going to court and all they're caring about is these people. They're not caring about the safety of people.
Well, I think in this case it's not the human rights lawyers, it's just the programme, which isn't working. Figures obtained by the Sun on Sunday show that just 228 of the 1,800 youngsters referred to the anti-terror programme have been advanced to the next stage.
I would say that several senior police officers, I think I mentioned this before in the programme, have told me categorically that they didn't think Prevent worked. So you either have to find a way of making the current programme work or you have to draw up a new one that does work.
Yeah, but I think lawyers would intervene, saying it's not fair for them to be followed around in their life, etc., with Prevent.
If you assume that these are immigrants, they're not. The story doesn't say that. People
no, I'm talking about lawyers.
Young people.
What you can't do is what Keir Starmer said and say there is this new threat out there from a single individual sitting in their bedroom on the computer becoming some kind of lone wolf. That's not a new threat.
No.
That situation has existed for nearly 10 years. So it is silly to drop in a red herring and hope to distract.
I mean, I don't know if he's a convert.
But Linda, they keep doing that. They keep trying to distract. First it was Amazon. Oh my gosh, you can buy knives on Amazon. The Home Secretary, it's revealed today in the Sunday Times, which we've not discussed. They've written, the Home Secretary and somebody else, Peter Carl, the Secretary of State for Technology, they've written to all the major tech platforms demanding they remove certain videos, and they're blaming them for allowing content on the platform.
Disingenuous.
Absolutely.
And very, very transparent.
I think I totally disagree with that. I think that stuff should shouldn't be for young people to see without any kind of...
Yeah, but that's not
Can't blame social media companies.
Point
can't be
what
the
was
Wild
wrong
West.
in this situation.
But people are radicalised by some of that content, and it should be regulated.
And that's the point of Prevent. When they are radicalised, they're
That's why we need to double the budget.
And these people, we should
Prevent, don't
deport them if they're in this country and they wasn't born here, that would like that as well. I'd like to go back to basics. I'd like to find out why that monster was... His parents were allowed to actually be in this country, because no one wants to know.
What
no one will tell me.
Is those parents must have known there was a big problem with their son.
His father did.
His father certainly did, because his father told the taxi driver not to take him to the school the week previously when he had intended killing children at that school.
Yeah, but when the genocide happened in 1994, the mum and dad didn't leave then. They left over a course of 2 years, when that was the time when people left that were responsible for the genocide.
And they went to Uganda.
Yeah.
And then came to the UK.
But at the end of the day, you've got a child with psychopathic tendencies under your roof. Now,
But even the police let him go. The police...
yeah, but the parents, I don't believe that those parents did not know that there was a really big problem with their son.
Well, they stopped. The
BBC
revealed text messages today between his father, this guy's father, the kid's father, and the next-door neighbour, because he was getting Amazon packages filled with ricin-making equipment to the guy next door to try and hide.
Well, who was buying all that? Because he wasn't even working. Like, I don't know what was going on.
Who knows? Lots of unanswered questions, and I'm sure it will come out over the coming weeks and months. Will it pose a big problem for Sir Keir Starmer and the Labour government? Who knows? Coming up next, a brand new segment, Big Weekend Fails, is coming up.
It's amazing to us that you welcome us, even though we are from Great Britain.
Coldplay's Chris Martin there, apologising in India, in Mumbai, at a concert for welcoming them so warmly to India after the fact that we colonised the country. What a wet wipe. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
TikTok chefs, Instagram chefs, that they put children off or young people off of cooking because it's so expertly done they can't do it. No, my young lad, he's 17, he is amazing in the kitchen. Oh, he is. He's amazing in the kitchen. And he gets it all off TikTok. He comes down, he can put burgers, wraps, stews, curries, sauces, and the smells in the kitchen. I said, where'd you get these? Oh, just TikTok, I'm trying it out. And it's just amazing the things that he can conjure up. So for some people, it might be... it's an inspiration for him. So they're saying that's intimidation. For my boy, it's an inspiration. They say it's entertainment. For my boy, it's an infomercial. I watch him doing his stuff. At that stage, I could do baked beans on toast and knock up a salad. That was it. But my boy can do all sorts of stuff.
It makes it accessible as well, doesn't it? Because lots of people say, like, you need an education to be in the kitchen, or you need to go find yourself loads of cookbooks. But you don't.
No.
You go on your phone now.
Well, I mean, like, all the spices, sesame oil. I mean, I'm amazed at the stuff that he does. So it's encouraging. All you just need is a kitchen well-stocked and have a go. And understand that failure is actually the route to learning. I mean, he's made mistakes, he's stuck stuff in the bin, but that young man, I am amazed at some of the stuff he does.
I don't mind cooking at all. It's cleaning up that I have the problem with. Dawn, let's talk about
Can I just say there are things called restaurants, by the way? Just put that one. My hell, I don't even know where the kitchen is.
OK.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News, and it's time for Big Weekend Fails. I'm going first. And by the way, just to let you know, it's the first edition of this new formatted show. Big Weekend Fails, we take a look at something that's happened in the week, something that's been an epic fail or fairly amusing, and we all just riff off and explain what's been going on. Anyway, I'm going to go first, because look what happened when Coldplay played a gig in India.
Thank you for coming today, everybody. It's amazing to us that you welcome us, even though we are from Great Britain. Thank you for forgiving us for all of the bad things Great Britain has done and welcoming us to your home.
Oh, my goodness me. Oh, my goodness me. Linda?
What an idiot, honestly. Words fail me. I mean, we're trying to talk this country up, and meanwhile, he's over there talking us all down.
I love Coldplay. It's such a shame when musicians do that.
Shouldn't maybe not talk.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of Indians want to move to the UK anyway, so it's not going to affect them.
and I'd argue that India's probably in a better state now after British colonisation than it would have been otherwise. So.
Got a lot to thank us for.
Then it's time for Paul's Big Weekend Fail. He's picked our friend Elon Musk.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
Paul, why is that a fail? He was giving his heart out to the crowd.
Yeah.
Well, was he? I mean, it was misinterpreted, I think, as by the left as being a Hitler-like salute. I don't think that's what he was doing, but it's just an example to me that whenever he intervenes in politics, he just gets it a bit wrong. He doesn't really know what he's doing.
I don't know.
He's crashing about. When he talks about the British Constitution,
I think he's fantastic.
It's absolutely half-witted.
That's what I thought.
And you know, it's going to end in tears. He's already been denied an office in the White House. He and Trump are going to fall out within weeks.
I agree with you on that.
Happen.
Sorry,
I'll tell you what, it was a little bit Usain Bolt. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Maya does something very similar as well.
OK, Linda, sticking with accidental salutes, this is your pick. Let's take a look at LBC host and friend of the show, James O'Brien.
You don't need to start burning books or locking up teachers or having arbiters of ideological purity sitting at the back of the classroom like a sort of Miss Trunchbull de nos jours. That's simple.
There you go.
Goodness.
Four in a row. Easily done.
Well, it is, but Elon Musk, he shouldn't be on a podium doing it without thinking first. He doesn't think, does he?
He has autism. He has a different brain.
I was about to say, in his defence, he's on the spectrum. I mean, he's a genius, but he's on the spectrum as well.
A lot of geniuses are autistic.
Paula, let's see how this gender reveal went. It's your big weekend fail.
Yeah. Basket! Oh.
So if you missed it, the guy, we'll play it again, the guy threw his club into the water as well as the ball. Let's take another look at this. Here we go.
Oh.
There we go. So if you missed it, the club went into the water as well as the ball. And, what a mess. Do you know what? I hate these gender reveals. They're so... It's an American import.
Yeah.
Are you fans of them?
No, definitely not.
Paula?
They're a bit cheesy, yeah.
Cheesy, that's the word.
I may or may not be planning to have another kid this year, but I'll definitely won't be having any gender reveals. Let's take a look at some views. Anything to add, guys, on the week ahead? Are you looking forward to anything news-wise? What do you think the big stories will be?
Rachel's big speech sounds like an absolute corker.
On Wednesday?
Yeah.
I mean, what's she going to say? We're going for growth.
Growth. Maybe more airports.
Well, Gatwick
I'd like to know about the airports. I would like to know what's
I think we do need
there.
the airports. We need Gatwick and we need Heathrow. And big plans around Old Trafford in Manchester are being mooted as well to regenerate that with the new railway.
I always thought that Boris's idea of building one down at the Thames estuary was a good call, actually.
Well, that's what
I think W.H. Smith is in trouble, that business as well, so hopefully businesses well, another business doesn't fold next week.
George calling, good evening. You said, Ben, the big fail this week was the bishop at President Trump's inauguration when she started talking about the migrants.
Yeah.
I laughed so much because every single person around President Trump all looked up and turned their heads and just stared at the bishop. It was a sight to see. And there was an amazing reaction from Vice President J.D. Vance, who turned to his wife and was just like, what the hell? Did you guys see that clip?
Yeah. Well, the clip I really liked was of Melania and her... I thought her hat was so incredibly beautiful. but Trump couldn't get close to her to kiss her on the cheek and ended up giving her this air kiss on the side.
Not for the first
The
time.
anti-Trump hat.
I know, love Melania. She's great. She went to with Donald Trump to California for the fires to speak to victims of the fires, and she was meeting a Serb and a Croat, and she was speaking in her native tongue. It was great. Up next is Headliners, presented by another Leo Kirst. What do you have on the show, my friend?
Hi, Ben. Good to see you. Tonight we've got a cracking show coming up. We've got Lewis Schaefer and Adam Kumis, two of the funniest headliners, and we've got some crazy stories to talk about. Apparently, HMRC are giving staff a day off a week to promote gender ideology. I'm not sure what it's got to do with tax, but that's what they're doing. There's also universities have introduced racist exams, treating different ethnic groups differently. And also there's the insane story of migrants outside schools, and the police are treating it as a cultural issue and being very soft touch around it. It's possibly another scandal brewing for Labour. Absolutely terrible.
Thank you, Leo. Look forward to that. Yeah, interesting about universities, isn't it? Just keep your kids out of unis. Yes, they want to be an architect or a doctor or something. Keep them out of universities. Thank you for your viewership tonight. Really appreciate your company. I'm back from 9 tomorrow. Thank you to my panel as well. And next up is Headliners. That's after your weather with Ellie. Good night.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's going to stay quite changeable over the next couple of days, with some outbreaks of heavy rain and some showers and some strong winds too, although there will perhaps be some glimmers of sunshine in the middle. We have this weather front situated out to the west of the UK at the moment. That pushes its way eastwards through the rest of this evening, bringing some quite heavy downpours, particularly to parts of northern England and Scotland, and this perhaps turning to sleet and snow over any high ground. Some outbreaks of showery rain across parts of Wales and England, but this generally a little lighter and more scattered than further north. Some clear skies developing behind, and that will likely turn those temperatures quite chilly overnight, dropping below zero across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland. So there may be some ice around to start on Sunday. It will be a bit of a cloudier start, though, across parts of Wales and southern England through Sunday morning. We've got this area of heavy rain arriving across the very far southwest, so a damp start to the day for Devon and Cornwall. For parts of Northern Ireland and southern parts of Scotland, a dry and bright start to the morning with some sunshine around. But further north, there will still be some showers, and again, these likely falling as sleet and snow, mainly over the high ground, but perhaps to lower levels for a time. As we then go through the rest of Sunday morning, that area of rain pushes its way northwards, spreading across much of the UK by the time we get to the afternoon. Some quite heavy downpours likely, and some blustery showers following in behind on that brisk southwesterly wind. That southwesterly wind does draw in some slightly milder air, so temperatures in the far southwest turning a little milder, 9 to 11 degrees, but elsewhere around about average, so 6 to 8 degrees quite widely. To start on Monday then, we have got low pressure across the UK, so heavy blustery showers still feeding in from the southwest. These likely to merge to longer spells of rain across northern parts, and plenty of showers as well across the far north of Scotland. So an unsettled start to the new working week, and that theme continues through much of next week. However, there are some hints that we'll see high pressure building and turning a little bit chillier by next weekend.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
This is the final week to grab good luck.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
And fashionistas are keen to see which new trends are set to hit the catwalk.
Well, our next guest is very well placed to share her predictions with us after being a contestant on hit ITV series Dress the Nation, as well as being an upcycling and sewing consultant.
Wow. Joining us now is Tendai Murewe. I want to go back to you appearing on the ITV Dress the Nation.
Right.
Tell us about that experience. What was that like?
Oh, that was one of my highlights as an upcycling consultant.
I learned to sew in my kitchen 5 years ago. And then, you know, during COVID, just making masks. Then the next thing I was on a destination, making dresses in front of TV. Yeah, it was just incredible. I think we all had all these clothes that we have, but we don't know what to do with them. So mainly I started with men's jackets, taking off the sleeves and putting it like a print on.
I've tried this. I've tried taking off my sleeves before. I now have about 3 jackets with no sleeves. I never managed to put them back on.
You need to come to a workshop. You need to come to a workshop.
I need an upcycling consultant. 2025, what can we expect fashion-wise?
I think bold prints are back. People are loving. I think you walk on the streets in frollaus and oversized men's jackets.
So the exact opposite. We have drastically underperformed this morning. You're just saying not like us.
We just woke up this morning and thought it's winter, it's cold, it's grey.
Grey, miserable.
Is that not the way to go?
No, it is. It's still, I think because fashion is expressive. It's whatever you want to express yourself. You know?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, it's 11 o'clock.